Hello and welcome to this very interesting video where, as you can see here from my screen, the New York Times has finally, and I've been waiting a long time for this, but the New York Times has finally released their very detailed map of the 2024 election. This is based on per precinct. So if you zoom in, and we will be zooming in, especially to a lot of big cities, we can really see the precinct results, and we could change them from 2020 to see how they swung compared to the previous election. Now, if you haven't already noticed, some of the states are still blank, they're still white, and that's because these results were not really given yet, either by the state government or New York Times just hasn't collected that data yet. But I'm sure this would be completed in the next couple months, probably. I'd say all of this data should be collected, but right now we do have around 74% of the votes that are in and mapped out, and pretty much almost every big city, excluding a little bit in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Kansas. But most of the big cities, pretty much all of them, are actually in, and we will be going into detail. But first, before we get into that, please subscribe, like my video, put all your comments in the section below, and please watch all my other content once you're done with this video. And so this is a very interesting map, and Donald Trump has taken office around, I think, 4 days ago. January 20th was his inauguration. Today is January 24th, or whenever you may be watching this video. And he does have a pretty good approval rating as coming in as president. He has actually the highest approval rating ever recorded, and the only president to come into a second term with a higher approval rating than in his first term. His approval rating actually has broken records where they recorded a plus 14 approval rating. Just letting you know, plus 14 is pretty much unheard of in modern days in terms of a politician's approval rating, because how split the country is. He does have a 54% approval rating and only a 40% disapproval rating. And if we want to map it out on Real Clear Politics, where they do put all those averages together, we can see that he does have an approval rating of around 9 points, with a 51.5% approval rating and a 43% disapproval rating. This is much better than Biden's approval rating. We can see Trump's is plus 9 and Biden's is actually minus 18. So that is a very interesting thing to take a look at, that how bad Biden's approval rating is heading out onto office, and how much Americans really want to change, and Trump coming in very strong. And that's probably one of the reasons why he did perform so well, is because of how strongly positively viewed people see him nowadays. So let's get into this. You can see right now from most of what's already in, it is a lot more red than blue, because the blues are always very concentrated in the bigger cities. A little bit of rural, but it's very rare for that to happen. Once we do get in a lot of these states in the south and the middle of the country, it'll be even redder, because all the states that are missing are all red states except for parts of California. But these are red areas of California and red areas of Illinois and red areas of Oregon. And in Colorado is a little bit different. But let's go over some of these cities. And I'm going to start off with two cities first that actually were not that good of performances for Donald Trump. And there's only two cities, actually three cities. I'm going to include the third one, but that's not really as bad as these two. But there's two cities in which he did not really perform better in compared to the other cities. And the first one will be the city of Seattle. And in Seattle, it is a very liberal city. And if we see the change from 2020, not really much going on here. Pretty much a wash. We have some areas moving right and some areas moving left. And if we want to take out the county in general, it did move right by 1 point. So not much of a change going on there. Same thing with we have in Portland. But I wanted to go over another city that is going to be really weird for Republicans, given that how the state usually votes, but is the state of Utah, in the city of Salt Lake City and all of these suburbs. As you can see, the results from 2024 are given that, yes, Kamala Harris did perform well in the downtown. Donald Trump performed well in the suburbs, especially down here in Provo. But the change from 2020 is not that good given how the nation trended as a whole. And some of these counties actually moved left. And so the states of Utah and Washington are actually the two states that trended right the least out of any state in the country. And that is why, this is the reason why. It's because the shifts were not favorable enough for Donald Trump for these states to be able to move in the right direction. But let's move in now to some states that were very good for Trump. And that includes pretty much everything else that I'm going to cover in this video, starting with San Francisco, very, very blue. San Francisco, very blue. San Jose, a little bit less blue, but still very blue. But look at this change from 2020. This is some very heavy shifts. Even in downtown San Francisco, we have most of these shifting double digits to the former and current president of the United States. Moving down to LA, it's even bigger, the change. We can actually see all of LA down here and its suburbs. Riverside, we have San Bernardino, and down here we have the city of San Diego. These are also used to be a lot more Democrat in terms of LA County, but it has been cut down all the way to a D plus 30, 33. Trump flipped San Bernardino County, winning it by 2. He flipped Riverside County. He lost Orange County by only 3 and lost San Diego County by 17. He did actually flip Imperial County, but the results are not in quite yet. But once I turn on this change, you're going to see really how much this city has changed. This is a very, very extreme shift to the right. It does include San Diego. It includes Riverside, San Bernardino, LA, Anaheim, Santa Ana, Long Beach, Santa Monica, even Hollywood. Every single part of Southern California shifted right by upwards of over 10 points. Let's see over here. LA County shifted 11 points to the right. Orange County 6.4, San Bernardino 13, Riverside 9, and San Diego County 6 points. Very interesting results there. Same thing in Clark County, where this used to be around a D plus 10 in 2020. It shifted around 7 points to the right. As we can see, a lot of these areas, including probably most of the city, even the strip down over here, moved to the right by a significant amount, to a point where this state, if this city continues to move more right, Republicans will have a pretty good grip on the state of on the state of Nevada. And moving on now to Arizona, and this is a state that originally many Republicans were worried about in the Senate level, in the presidential level, and it is because they are losing support in Maricopa County. But this time around, the trend was bucked. Donald Trump actually did 6 points better in Maricopa County. He did 3.5 points better in Pima County, and every other county also shifted a pretty considerable amount in his favor, including these counties up here, which have a lot of Native American people who usually vote much more Democrat, but have shifted to the right ever since. Zooming in more to Phoenix, we can see once again a pretty liberal downtown, not too liberal compared to other cities, but moving into the change from 2020, we can see heavy trends across the city, but most of those heavy trends were on the west side, and this side is much more Hispanic populated. Meanwhile, a lot more white populated on this east side. The Hispanic shifts could really be prevalent in Phoenix on the west side. And so moving now to some other cities, I'm going to quickly glance over the state of Texas because there is a lot to go over, but we do have some shifts from 2020. Hidalgo County shifted 20 points. We have El Paso, another 20 points. San Antonio, Bexar County, which is 8 points. Travis County, 6 points. Harris County, 8 points. Dallas County, almost 10. Tarrant, 5. And we have Denton and Collin also between 5 and 7 points. I want to zoom in now to the city of Dallas and its suburbs, because this is an area that has been shifting left pretty consistently over the past 20 years. These were their Republican counties back then, but Democrats have done a lot better in recent years. But once again, the reason why Trump was able to win the state of Texas by 14 points was because of this. Look at Dallas right here. This is a pretty monumental shift to the right. Same thing visible in the largest county in the state of Texas. This right here is some very heavy rightward shifts across the entire city. There is no city outside of those two that I mentioned that actually moved to the left this election cycle. Every single other city did move to the right in general. But one city that did show kind of like a slow movement to the right was the city of Atlanta. And you are going to see when I do show you this shift map, this part right here is going to be moving to the left, and the rest of the city is going to be moving to the right, but slightly, as you can see here. Very black areas over here. And most of this area is also very black. They did move to the right by around 2 to 10 points, but these suburbs down here moved to the left by pretty considerable amounts. So that basically almost cancels out the movement in Atlanta, maybe a little bit to the right, but we see a lot of these counties down here, which are suburbs, they're growing very, very fast, and a lot of people that vote Democrat are moving to them. So that's going to be the state of Atlanta. This is probably a swing state that Republicans need to be worried about if they want to be able to be competitive there in the future. Moving now to the city of Miami. Florida is also a state that is no longer competitive. Donald Trump was able to win it by around 13 points, I believe, which is crazy given that the state of Florida was very competitive back then. And South Florida has changed dramatically. If we take a look at the 2016 election, which you can pull up by yourself on your own time, you can actually find it right here. It'll show you that all of South Florida was blue. Almost all of it was blue. Now, it is very 50-50 given the fact that Democrats have mostly lost a lot of their support in South Florida despite a couple of pockets here and there, and especially prevalent in the city of Miami. If we see the shifts here along Miami going all the way up to Palm Beach, it is just a sea of red in the state of Florida. In South Florida, same thing in Tampa, where we see very heavy shifts to the right in all of Florida, and that is a big reason why the state is not competitive anymore. And finally, I wanted to show you guys probably the biggest movement to the right, and that will definitely be in the Northeast. We're going to look at two more cities in the Northeast, starting with the biggest city in America, which is going to be New York City. Just look at this. You can see how different this city looks compared to how it was before. There is a lot more red present on this map, and even in New Jersey, given that this city is super Democrat, this is a very shocking result. The change from 2020 can show you guys how massive this city had shifted to the right. I mean, some of these precincts moved to the right by 50 points, and it's not just one, it's a lot of them in the 20s and in the 30s. Some very crazy shifts in this state, in the city of New York, and that is the main reason why New York State was probably one of the lowest margins for Democrats in a very long time. And also, let's take a look at Boston, also a state, a city very liberal. Massachusetts is one of the most liberal cities in the most liberal states in the United States. But Boston and all of this area over here moved to the right pretty considerably. Suffolk County, where Boston is the downtown, moved Republican by 11 points. And so the really important conclusion from this video is that yes, Donald Trump made a little bit of gains in the rural areas, but the main reason why he was able to actually win this election, we could also see Cook County too, it also moved 8 points to the right. But the main reason why Donald Trump was able to win this election pretty easily and handily, and the reason why he was able to win the popular vote, was because of those cities. The majority of people do live in cities and suburbs. The rural areas are pretty stagnant this election cycle. We do see a little bit of movement in either direction, but those big cities were the game changer, and that was the big reason why Donald Trump was able to win this election. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Put all your comments in the section below, and I will check you guys out in the next one.